Our nation is broken. We've had political assassinations recently in Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States. Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken.
That was Utah Governor Spencer Cox yesterday after Charlie Kirk was shot and killed on the campus of Utah Valley University. Good morning. Welcome to Way Too Early. I'm Ali Vitale on this Thursday, September 11th, and that's where we start this morning. A manhunt is still underway this hour for the person who killed Charlie Kirk, a conservative activist and close ally of President Trump, who was fatally shot yesterday while speaking at an event at Utah Valley University. Video from the scene shows Kirk, who co-founded the conservative youth organization Turning Point USA, engaging with the crowd, as he often does at events like this, when a single shot rang out and struck him in the neck. Eyewitnesses described the moments surrounding this horrific act of violence.
Did you hear the gunshot?
Yeah, we did. We heard the gunshot and people just started dropping, and so my wife, my biggest concern was getting her down and laying on top of her. I looked over and saw him as he was falling out of his chair, and I saw the blood coming out of his neck. And it was just, people panicking, kind of chaos. But everybody worked together. Everybody kind of came together and was, what can we do to help everybody and get everyone safe?
I just remember the pop and everyone looking around questioning the same question, and I was questioning if that could have been a real gun. Kind of sounded like a louder version of a pop gun. And then there was like a more military stature-looking man in front of us, and he was pushing people down, saying, "Everyone get down, that's a gunshot." And then the next thing you know is you're just trying to look for your exits, and he's saying to stay down, but do you run? Do you stay down? Do you crawl? You don't know what to do.
A total sense of shock on the ground there when you listen to those eyewitnesses. Kirk was brought to an area hospital where he later died. President Trump formally announced Kirk's death on social media, writing in part, quote, "No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he's no longer with us." Meanwhile, witnesses at yesterday's tragic event say they were surprised by the lack of security at the venue. Kirk was speaking in an outdoor amphitheater on the Utah campus. Attendees tell NBC News that there were no security checkpoints or metal detectors posted outside, adding that although the event required a ticket, it wasn't scanned to get in. Investigators believe the gunman who shot Kirk was positioned atop a building surrounding the amphitheater, about 200 yards away from where the political activist was sitting. Law enforcement agencies say 2 people who were taken into custody yesterday were later found to have no ties to the shooting. While the search for the suspect and their motive is still ongoing, President Trump is blaming the radical left, and Republican Governor Spencer Cox of Utah is calling it a political assassination.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
This is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken.
I want to bring in now MSNBC investigative correspondent Mark Santia and MSNBC senior White House correspondent Vaughn Hilliard here with me in the studio. Mark, I want to go first to you. Start with the latest on the search for a suspect at this hour. What's going on?
Allie, we know right now the FBI and local police are co-leading this investigation and the search for a suspect. Right now, what we know from law enforcement, they say the shooting, they call it a targeted attack. One shot was fired. The shooter is believed to have opened fire from the rooftop of a building that was more than 500 feet away. Allie, initially, 2 people were taken into custody by police. They were questioned. Both people have been released. Law enforcement says neither person has ties to the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Now, Utah Valley University, it's home to 45,000 students. 3,000 people were at the event yesterday. The FBI has set up a digital media tip line. They're reaching out to the public. You can upload videos there, upload files on their website there, on their tip line. They're reaching out. Why? Because, Allie, you talk to police, you talk to federal law enforcement, and they'll tell you the community, they're their force multiplier. They're looking for people who may have been at the event yesterday, may have been near the event, saw something, heard something, any tip, and they'll tell you nothing is too small. They're running down several leads. We talked to federal law enforcement sources this morning who tell us they've been working through the night looking for this suspect. Again, at this point, we know the university has they've been given the all clear by police, Allie. They say there is no ongoing threat there at the campus, but the campus will remain closed until Monday because this is an active crime scene. You have investigators there at the campus still looking for evidence. But again, they've given the all clear by police. They said there's no ongoing threat. Allie, this as the search for a killer continues.
Yeah, that search continuing. And I think the user-generated content piece of this, the number of people who were posting and uploading videos in real time, is the way that this story came to my attention, to everyone else's attention. The idea that they could potentially comb through some of that video, that I'm sure could give them some leads. But then the other piece of it, too, is the lack of security that witnesses were talking about at the event itself. How does that factor in? What are you hearing your law enforcement sources say about that?
Well, what they keep saying is they're looking for this suspect first, and then they're going to go back and look at that security. We know police yesterday said there were 6 uniformed officers at the event. There were 3,000 people attending the event. Police said there were 6 uniformed officers there. They also said they had plainclothes police in the event. As you had mentioned, there was no security screening or lack of security screening for the people attending the event. But we know from law enforcement, they believe the shooter, dressed in very dark clothing, they said, was on a rooftop and fired from a rooftop, an elevated position. There's no word about security sweeps before. But again, Allie, what we're hearing is that'll be something that's looked at. They go back, they talk about that. But right now, their first mission, job one, is finding that shooter.
Absolutely. And I mean, even when you look at that graphic of how far away it was, the fact that it was from an elevated position, I'm sure that it has law enforcement officials questioning, was this someone who had some kind of training, especially given the fact that you see that distance from the center where these shots were reportedly fired from and where Charlie was sitting doing his event. MSNBC investigative correspondent Mark Santia, thank you for getting us up to speed on this. We're going to look for you again throughout our coverage this morning.